You ever seen a promise look so sweet? Draped in gold and velvet, shining like Sunday shoes. But when you peeled back the bow, it was just another beautiful betrayal.
They gave us papers wrapped in satin, said the good times here to stay. But I opened up that package and it stole my breath away. No love in the fine print, no mercy in the lines. Just another deal for the rich man, and the rest get left behind.
They dressed it up. They dressed it up. But it was hollow.
Said it was love, but it was borrowed.
A beautiful betrayal.
Gold on the outside, pain in the seams.
A beautiful betrayal.
Living in the cracks of their American dream.
A beautiful betrayal.
You can't buy my soul with your silver string. Yo. They told us freedom was a the ink dried up in the heat. They told us justice was a handshake, but the grip was bitter and cheap. Now the rent due, the fridge empty, mama rebels every week, while the man in the tailored suit counting dollars in his sleep. Who gon' feed the babies? Not your beautiful betrayal. Who gon' save our elders? Not your beautiful betrayal. Who gon' fight for justice? We gon' fight for justice. Wrapped up so neat, but it's tearing at the seams. A beautiful betrayal. It's a curse in a ribbon, a theft in a dream. A beautiful betrayal. My silver strings. Pretty words can't hold me. Pretty eyes can't break me. This is the last betrayal I'll ever believe.
All right. They called it a beautiful bill. But let me ask you, when was the last time beauty paid your rent, fed your children, or kept your grandma alive in the hospital they just closed? A beautiful bill wrapped in ugly consequences. Now, I'm not here to be upset or to bash anybody who is wealthy, because I want to be one of y'all one day. So I'm not going to bash you. But what I do is just want to report and talk about how it affects the majority who are not in that millionaire or billionaire status yet. You know, the bill introduces new work and reporting requirements for Medicaid recipients, including able-bodied adults and some parents. While individuals qualified through SSI are exempt, pathways like Georgia's past pathways program show many families struggle with extra bureaucracy. They say it's beautiful, but I say it's a velvet wrapped wrecking ball aimed straight at people who can't afford to lose another thing. There's a significant cut to SNAP funding, nearly $300 billion over 10 years, translated nationally into 8 million fewer people receiving benefits. Don't be fooled by the pretty words. This bill is a polished promise hiding consequences that will break your back and your bank account. I'm among the designated vulnerable households whose benefits are targeted for potential scaling down despite program language promising protection. They dressed this bill up in silk and gold, but under the ribbon, it got teeth and it's coming for the folks already fighting to survive. So, what can we do? We can stay informed about any Georgia specified Medicaid SNAP rule changes, especially work or reporting requirements that could affect your family. Seek help with paperwork. Many lose benefits not from ineligibility, but complex forms. Consider local nonprofits or legal aid for assistance. Plan for tightness. Explore food banks, community resources, or local church pantry networks nearby. Voice your concerns. Connect with advocates like the Georgia Budget and Policy Institute to make your situation known. Your voice matters. The bottom line is the SSI is protected, but the systems many rely on, Medicaid and SNAP, face serious strain and restrictions. Expect added bureaucracy, potential reduction in benefits, and increased out of pocket expenses, especially as Georgia rolls out new rules by 2026 through 2027. Early preparation and support can be your strongest defense against unintended loss. Wealthier individuals and high income households. While the bill delivers major tax cuts on large incomes, capital gains, and estates. If you make six figures or more, own significant investments, or expect to inherit wealth, you're in the front row for the benefits. For example, a family earning $500,000 plus annually could see tens of thousands in new tax savings. Estate tax thresholds are lifted, protecting more inherited wealth. Who benefits? Doctors, executives, business owners, investors, and wealthy retirees. Welcome to the Unorganized Chaos Network. I am the Evangelist Entertainment. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and turning on that notification button. Thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate you for subscribing. Large corporations and some small businesses. Corporate tax rates are reduced and certain business deductions are expanded. Big corporations will save billions in taxes, fueling stock buybacks and shareholder payouts. Some small businesses will also see relief if they have employees and profits. Who benefits? Large companies, franchise owners, and investors with stock portfolios. State governments in wealthier, low benefit states. States with higher average incomes and lower Medicaid enrollment will have less budget stress. For example, states like Utah, Virginia, and Texas may feel less fiscal strain. Investors and shareholders, capital gains tax reductions, corporate cuts, and deregulation boost market value. If you hold stocks, mutual funds, or real estate, your portfolio stands to grow. In short, who's going to benefit the most? High earners, large corporations, people with significant investments, wealthier families inheriting assets, states with smaller safety net programs. Meanwhile, working families, low income seniors, and people relying heavily on Medicaid and SNAP are likely to see more bureaucracy and eligibility hurdles, reduced funding over time, higher out of pocket costs. The bottom line is this bill was written with the clear intention of shifting benefits up the economic ladder while reducing spending on the safety net. It's designed to reward wealth accumulation, shrink public benefits, lower taxes at the top. Now, I have no problem with rewarding wealth accumulation. I believe that's what we're all trying to do. But I do have a problem with shrinking public benefits. And why are we lowering taxes for people who don't need their taxes lowered? I remember Warren Buffett once said that his secretary pays more money in taxes than he does. And he said that should not be. There are wealthy people who don't even agree with this. I think EM doesn't even agree with it. That's why he left. Then he called it the great master bill. Good gracious. Low income families and individuals. It would affect them. The bill slashes funding for Medicaid and SNAP, two pillars that keep working families, children, seniors, and people with disabilities from falling through the cracks. In Georgia alone, hundreds of thousands could face work reporting hurdles, more paperwork and delays, losing coverage over technicalities. They put those technicalities there on purpose. I don't. You think they would make it easier? Why they're making it more difficult? Think about that. Why they're making voting more difficult? Think about that. If your vote wasn't so important, why are some people trying so hard to make it so difficult for you to vote? Parents raising kids on limited income. Single moms trying to feed their children on SNAP. Low-wage workers rely on Medicaid because they don't get insurance on the job. Who will it hurt? Who is it going to hurt for these people to receive the assistance that they need? Now, they say some people are taking advantage of the system. Okay, are wealthy people taking advantage of the system? Is it just poor people? People with disabilities and chronic illnesses. Medicaid is the nation's biggest payer for services for people with disabilities, personal care, therapies, and home supports. Cuts in work requirements will hit these programs indirectly because states will have less funding to maintain them. SSI itself may stay intact, but all the wraparound supports are at risk of strain and rationing. Adults on SSI who also need Medicaid for personal care, families with disabled children who get therapy and medical equipment via Medicaid. I heard that just one family will never be able to keep the medical equipment that they have as their Medicaid is cut. This is not only sad, this is sickening, this is diabolical. This bill could literally cost people their life. I think it's a sad situation. People, this is why your vote is so important. This right here, it's no excuse. Rural communities, rural hospitals rely heavily on Medicaid reimbursements to stay open. When Medicaid shrinks, hospitals close, jobs disappear, and health deserts expand. This has already happened in Georgia. More than 10 rural hospitals have shut their doors in the last decade. Not only rural, when I was in Atlanta, the Wellstone, what's that street? They closed. So you know if it's happening there, it's happening in other places. Families in small towns, hours from the nearest hospital. Seniors needing skilled nursing care. Did anybody who voted for this bill consider or think about any of this, but they just didn't care? I don't know. Seniors in nursing homes and assisted living. Medicaid pays for over 60% of nursing home beds in America. Funding cuts will force states to cap slots, tighten eligibility, or reduce payments to facilities. Elderly people on limited income who can't afford private care. Adult children caring for aging parents. This would affect children in poverty. SNAP cuts mean more kids going hungry. Wow, we can't even feed the kids. We should at least be able to feed the kids. Medicaid cuts mean fewer well child visits and delayed care. Medicaid cuts mean fewer well child visits and delayed care. You know, it's the well child visits that keep children from getting sick, which would cost more money for people to have to pay out of their pocket for them to go see the doctor. The math ain't mathing. School nutrition programs also rely partially on federal funded streams that could be squeezed indirectly. Families whose kids get free school meals plus SNAP to fill the gaps. Parents skipping meals to feed their children. This reminds me of the Kevin Durant story. Kevin Durant is my favorite basketball player, by the way. His mom would skip meals just so they could eat. People without consistent employment. Work requirements sound simple, but they push people with unpredictable gig work, health issues, caregiving duties, transportation barriers. Many lose benefits not because they don't work, but because they can't keep up with the red tape. Part-time workers with fluctuating hours, informal caregivers, seasonal workers. The bottom line is this bill will hurt the most. Poor families raising kids, disabled people and seniors on Medicaid, rural communities losing hospitals, people with unpredictable work situations. So y'all passed a bill that will hurt the least among these. The most vulnerable people in these United States of America will be affected the most. Ain't something in the Bible that says how you treat the least of these is how you treat me? What y'all religious people got to say about that in the House, in the Senate? So lean in close. Let me break this all the way down so your spirit feels steady, your strategy stays strong. Because you're going to have a strategy to stay strong. This bill may be a tidal wave, but you are not powerless. Tell your neighbor you are not powerless. You are not powerless. Here's what low income families and individuals can do right now to brace, protect, and prepare. Document everything. Documentation beats conversation. Document everything. Keep copies of all letters and notices you get from Medicaid, SNAP, or Social Security. Documentation beats conversation. Save your pay stubs, receipts, and any proof of your expenses and medical needs. If your benefits are ever reduced or cut off, this purple weight is your evidence. Buy a $1 photo or notebook and label it benefits binder. That's your shield. It's putting all the proof of what you spend on your medical and healthcare needs to help you when it's time to go to court to fight for your right to live. Ain't this a shame that now we got to fight for our right to have Medicare, Medicaid, food, and stay connected to your caseworker. Call your local DFCS office. Call them regularly every day if you have to and say, hey, I want to get on the top of things. I want to get ahead of things. What do I need to do to make sure none of my benefits are cut off or none of my benefits are or taken away partially or fully? Make sure they have your current address and phone number. Ask them exactly what you need to report to keep your file current. Be proactive. Don't wait till you wake up and you ain't got no food or money. Be proactive. Find local advocacy organizations. They'll help you with the paperwork. In Georgia, Georgia Legal Services Program, Atlanta Legal Aid Society, Georgia Budget and Policy Institute, benefits outreach at your local community action agency. Many of these people will help you free of charge. You don't have to pay nothing. I looked it up. And get ready for appeals, even before it even happened. As soon as you get a letter, a notice that say, hey, we're taking away your Medicaid or SNAP, or we're reducing your Medicaid or SNAP, I already have your appeal ready. You have the legal right to appeal. Okay? Know this. You have that. Do not panic. Request a fair hearing within a timeline on your notice. If you would appeal within 10 days, you can often keep your benefits while you wait for the decision. And you know it's going to take them 2, 3, 4, 5 years before they even get to your case. So appeal it as soon as possible before they even think about reducing it. Call up there and say, hey, I need an appeal notice. Go ahead and send it to me. Just in case, let me start working on it. Just go on and send it to me. Supplement food resources. If your SNAP shrinks, consider connecting with local food banks, WIC, or school meal programs. A lot of school meal programs people don't know, but they are available for you during the summer. I didn't know this too. I had a friend of mine tell me that they give you. She has an EBT card, and they'll put extra money on it during the summer, or they'll tell her where to go to get food during the summer at no cost to her. Prevent Prepare for work requirements. Even if you're exempt, Georgia may require proof of disability or caretaker status. Keep letters from your doctor and any SSI, SSDI award notices handy. If you are subject to work requirements, ask your DFCS worker what qualifies and how often to report. Ask questions. Ask them now. Ask questions now. Make your voice heard. Contact your state legislators and U.S. representatives. Trust me, this works. I had a case a while ago. It was taking forever. I showed it. I called Warnock. I called Ossoff, and I called the governor. I ain't even vote for the governor. And I told them what was going on. Next thing I know, my case was moving right along. I was like, thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Share your story. Your voice is power. Your vote is power. Many policy reversals happen because real people speak up. Real people speak up for yourself. Don't just sit there and cry and waddle and like, wow, this bill done passed. What am I going to do? Do something. Get up and do something. Take care of your well-being. This is stressful. You're allowed to feel overwhelmed. There's nothing wrong with that. You're allowed to feel overwhelmed. Take breaks, breathe, and reach out for emotional support. Church communities, therapists, or support groups. I'm in therapy, support groups, and church. I talk to Jesus on Sundays. I talk to my therapist on Mondays, and I have support groups throughout the week. And I love them, especially my therapist. And you know I love Jesus, especially my therapist. Is a great help for me. Trust me. You are not lazy or broken just because you're on Medicaid or SSI or whatever you're on. Don't be ashamed of it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You are not lazy or broken. The system is by design, which is sad. That's why your vote matter. Vote. Your no vote is a vote. Your no vote is why we are here in this predicament now. The bottom line is your task is this. Do me a favor, do this. Tell your neighbor to do this also. Keep your records tight. Stay connected to benefit offices. Know your rights. Find your community resources. Advocate for yourself without shame. Yeah, call them, say, hey, I need some more money on my food stamp card and I'm running out of food. Do it without shame. What do I need to do? What proof, what evidence do you need? Do you need me to send you a picture of my empty refrigerator? What can I do to benefit me? You deserve stability. You deserve dignity. We all do, no matter what income tax bracket we are in. Okay, Georgia has impact in Georgia. It's expected that 750,000 Georgians could lose health coverage due to Medicaid cuts. Does this make you feel good, Governor Kemp? You literally helped sign into law 750,000 of your residents to lose their health coverage. I'm sure you got good health coverage in your family. It must be nice. Like I said, I'm not on here to bash anybody who's wealthy because I'm going to be one of y'all. So I don't want to bash who I want to be. I'm just saying if you're going to be wealthy, be a responsible wealthy person. Give, save, and live. Georgia moderators, like the Pathways program, may adapt faster, but still must align with the federal deadline of December 2026. Use Pathways. Google it, Georgia Pathways. But what you can do now, make sure you mark on your calendar December 26th. That's when these policies are supposed to go live, if not before then. Unless we get some serious votes and some, I don't know. Gather your documentation now. Proof of disability, caretaker role, or inability to work. Watch for notices from DFCS and Medicaid. They should arrive months in advance of any changes. Like I said, I wouldn't even wait for them to contact me. I'm so for serious. Like, okay, what you about to send me in the mail? Connect with local advocacy. They'll probably be busy, but once it kicks in, like the Georgia Legal Services Program, Atlanta Legal Aid, start connecting with them now. Tell them your situation. Even if you have to stay on hold for an hour, at least once you get them on the phone, they know your name, they know what you need, they know your resources. Once they have all that information, then they can tell you what to do and help you from there. Now, where would this bill hit the hardest? I'm going to break this down into three lenses: geographically, economically, and human. Now, the geographic impact where in the U.S. will feel it most: southern states, including Georgia. Wow, Georgia. Why do people vote against their own best interest? It's just mind-boggling to me. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard it. I can't even say if I read it somewhere, but I heard that most of the people who voted for the orange man voted against their own self-interest. I mean, I don't know. Just, well, again, what they voted for. States that didn't expand Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act already have higher uninsured rates and more fragile safety nets. Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida are likely to see more people losing Medicaid, rural hospital closures, and increased child poverty. So we have a governor who looks like, to me, doesn't care about child poverty. I would rather have no child in poverty or no child hungry than to vote to have a millionaire to pay less taxes. I mean, which one makes sense to you? A hungry child or with the millionaire paying less taxes? A child who's fed and a millionaire paying more taxes. Georgia could see up to 750,000 lose Medicaid coverage as early as 2027. Rural counties like Clay, Stewart, or Randolph in Georgia will feel this like a gut punch. Now, Clay County, Stewart County, and Randolph County, who you think they voted for? Rural counties, Clay, Stewart, and Randolph. Who you think they voted for? You think this bill going to benefit them? Why do people vote against their own best interest? I don't understand it. Make it make sense to me. Rural America, rural hospitals rely heavily on Medicaid funding to stay open. SNAP is also more prevalent in rural communities. When funding shrinks, clinics close, and food insecurity rises. Now, you know, when poverty rises, guess what else rises? Crime. Wherever there's a high rate of poverty, there's a high rate of crime. States with higher poverty rates: Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, West Virginia. Places where over 1 in 5 children already live in poverty will face severe hardship. Severe hardship. Wow. And they want to call this the big, beautiful bill. States with large aging populations. Medicaid pays for over half of all nursing home care. Florida and Pennsylvania have huge senior populations that will be hit by funding shortfalls. Economic impact. Now, I just wonder what will happen when one of these senators or representatives end up having a family member suffering from a bill that they voted for. Or do they even care? Economic impact. Healthcare providers. Medicaid cuts will reduce reimbursements to hospitals. Layoffs of nurses, aides, and support staff will occur. Reduced services for mental health and home care. Y'all know my story. I was locked up in a mental institution. Had a traumatic brain injury that I didn't even find out about till I went to a neurologist or something. I can't remember. CPTSD, social anxiety, major depression disorder, from being a former police officer. I would rather be in a mental institution than to be out here due to my CPTSD end up hurting someone because of a flashback or a night terror or something. States will have to decide to raise taxes, cut other services, or reduce benefits further. Georgia already underfunds many safety net programs. This was just widen the gap. Human impact. Who will be affected most personally? Low income parents. Those are the people we're supposed to be taking care of, the orphans, the widows. I'm not saying all low income parents are orphans or widows or anything. I'm just saying if y'all are going to stand y'all ground based on biblical principles, try using those biblical principles when you're passing these bills. Okay? Because I'm not saying anything in this what y'all so-called big beautiful bill. First of all, ain't nothing in it beautiful. I don't even know if it's even beautiful to the wealthy people because I've been seeing news stories and articles from millionaires saying, hey, we don't even need these tax cuts. Give it to the people who needs it. I would rather feed a hungry child than to get a tax cut. Low income parents, new work requirements for SNAP and Medicaid means more red tape, higher risk of losing benefits over paperwork, less stability for kids. Why would they want to make it harder for people to just live? People with disabilities, Medicaid funds home care, wheelchairs, therapists, and personal care attendants. Even if your SSI check stays the same, losing Medicaid services can be devastating. Seniors, many elders in nursing homes rely on Medicaid. What y'all gonna do? Kick them out and now they homeless? Now you got an extra expense. Is anybody thinking? Is anybody up there thinking? Somebody go knock on the door at the Capitol and ask this. Anybody up there have any brain cells left? Or all you can see is money? I don't understand it. I really don't. Somebody help me understand it. I appreciate you. Cuts will likely reduce beds, increase wait lists, and lower quality of care. You never know what'll happen. You might be in that capital now, but you never know what'll happen that will put you in a situation that you just voted against. Rural families with fewer hospitals and clinics, people will travel hours for basic care. Hours. About time you get there, you unalive. That's sad, but it's a sad reality. Bottom line, where would this bill have the biggest impact? Geographically, the South, Georgia, Texas, Alabama, and Mississippi. I wonder what color these states are. Are they all red? Somebody let me know. People vote against their own best interest, self-interest. I don't understand. Rural America, states with high poverty and older populations. Economically, this just came to my mind. I remember when the Orange Man said that he loved his uneducated people. I think this right here is why. Because probably most uneducated people vote against their own best interest. He said it. Look it up. He said, the Orange Man said he loved his uneducated people. It just came to my mind, but I remember him saying it a while ago. He loved his uneducated people. Wow. So he can get these bills passed, I guess. Economically, small towns depending on Medicaid funded hospitals, low wage workers relying on SNAP and Medicaid. Human impact, low income parents and kids, seniors in nursing homes, people with disabilities, rural families. What this means for Georgia, you are right in the bullseye of all three impact zones. Southern state, high rural population, high reliance on Medicaid and SNAP. Good job. But knowing this lets you plan, prepare, and advocate. Plan, prepare, and advocate. Advocate. The three words for today are plan, prepare, and advocate. Okay, sit with me for a minute. Because this ain't the first time this happened. Uh, come on the porch with me. Let's talk about history for a minute. Let me tell you a story about why this bill passed. Because it passed due to deep roots and sharp thorns. Trust me. I'm going to break it down to you plain and true. It's a long conservative dream. They've been thinking about this for years. This bill didn't show up out of thin air. Decades, conservatives and libertarians have been working towards shrinking government safety nets like Medicaid, SNAP, and housing, rolling back taxes on wealth, corporations, and inheritance, pushing personal responsibility over public assistance. Now, let me ask a question. Now, when you have a job, you pay Social Security, right? So you're giving money to Social Security. I want my money back. You can't keep money that I gave you and say, no, we're gonna give it back. No, you're not giving me any benefit. I've paid into this benefit. Give me my money back. That is theft. Isn't that theft? Theft by taking, theft by deception, theft by receiving one of them. Now, what was I at? What I wrote down? Rolling back taxes on wealth, corporation, and inheritance, pushing personal responsibility over public assistance. They've argued that large federal benefits create dependency and suppress work. Okay, show me the proof and the facts behind this statement. I've heard this before. Nobody's ever been able to show any proof. They look at minorities and just say they're lazy. But do you want to know why a lot of minorities need or are dependent on the government to help them? Do you remember America when y'all was selling houses and refused to sell houses to minorities, to black people? Reliable housing. So the white people, y'all have been able to buy houses and build up general wealth way longer than minorities have. So now you're not trying to help us to bridge that gap to get us closer to where we should have been in the first place. Matter of fact, some of y'all are angry that we're still here. And you brought us here. Thank you for the trip. Appreciate it. But we'll show you how powerful we are. Our ancestors wasn't playing. They have prepared us. They have prepared us to plan, prepare, and advocate for ourselves. Now, this bill will slash Medicaid and SNAP spending, lock in tax cuts for the wealthy, reshape the government's role for a generation. Unified political control. One party held the majority in the House, Senate, and White House after the 2024 elections. Vote, people. Please vote. Your no vote is a vote. Either way you're voting, please put down a name and vote. Circle name, put your mark by name, just vote. One party held the majority in the House, Senate, and White House. So there was no gridlock, no major filibusters needed. They fast-tracked the bill through reconciliation, which means they only needed 51 Senate votes, not all 60, just 51. And they told me, so we need to cut the budget. Then they just spent $100 million trillion on some King's Day parade for the Orange Man. They couldn't trim the budget and not have that. It ain't making sense to me. Major donor influence. The bill was heavily backed by wealthy donors. Okay, are we surprised or are we surprised? Large corporations, trade associations, because the corporate tax cuts and estate tax changes were top priorities for big donors. Pressure mounted on lawmakers to get it done and fast. Supporters call it the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Prosperity Package, the Working Americans Bill of Rights. They emphasize no federal tax on overtime or tips. I agree with that. Let's not tax the overtime or tips. But guess what? The way it's written, you have to make a certain amount in overtime, and then you have to make a certain amount on your base um, amount to not have to pay tax on your overtime. See, the way it sounded real good, didn't it? It sounded real good when I read it. No federal tax on overtime on tips. Then I did a little Googleization and put in no federal tax on overtime tips, and they had a whole lot of rules under that. I'm like, wow. Simplified tax filing, more choice and flexibility in health coverage. These catchy messages soften public resistance, even as buried provisions gutted Medicaid and SNAP overtime. The economic argument. Proponents argued corporate tax cuts would fuel investment and job growth. Corporate tax cuts have never fueled investment and job growth. This is that trickle down economic stuff they want y'all to believe. It has never worked. If you have any source that can prove to me it has worked before, please let me know. I'm unaware. Trickle down economics has never worked. SNAP and Medicaid reforms will encourage self-reliance. We are already self-reliant without the Medicaid and SNAP. The Medicaid and SNAP was here to support us in our self-reliance. Now you're trying to put us back into poverty. Goodness gracious. Reducing deficits will stabilize long-term budgets. What are you budgeting? Because it ain't stabilizing our budgets. How can your budget be stabilized when you're in a negative? And how can we listen to someone trying to stabilize a budget when America is in the highest debt there has ever been in? I'm not going to listen to you when it comes towards me budgeting my money. If you owe $100 million, $1,000 trillion, make it make sense. Critics said this was trickle-down economics and new rapping, but the argument stuck with enough voters and lawmakers to pass. Political calculus. Many lawmakers believed their base voters would reward them for tax cuts and deregulation. Bless your heart. The harm to low-income households wouldn't fully materialize until after 2026. Whenever it fully materialize, it's still a devastation to people who literally cannot do anything for themselves, to people who literally rely on SNAP Medicaid for their survival. It doesn't matter what year it fully materialized, and what are these people going to do? And y'all say by then they'll have time to adjust. Adjust to what? I mean, I'm talking about people who literally cannot do anything for themselves, who are disabled. Why did the bill pass? That's what I want to know. Why did this bill pass? Because decades of ideological planning, unified political control, donor influence, and strategic messaging converge in a moment of opportunity. That's why it passed. It was about power, legacy, re-engineering the social contract. But here's what I believe. I really believe this, y'all. Just because it passed doesn't mean it stays forever. I really believe that we got to vote. Public pressure, state resistance, court challenges, and elections can all reshape what comes next. Vote. Everything I just said simply means vote. This bill doesn't care what party you vote for. It will hurt low-income people, period. But let's break it down carefully because you deserve a thoughtful answer. Who are low-income Democrats or likely to live in urban areas, big cities, and blue states? Often include Black and Latino families, single moms, people relying on Medicaid expansion, families using housing assistance. Many live in states that expanded Medicaid, which means they have had more generous coverage until now. Who are low income Republicans? More likely to live in rural areas in southern or midwestern red states. Often include white working class families, rural seniors, small town residents, veterans, and disabled adults relying on SNAP and Medicaid. Veterans, people who served, volunteered to serve our country, and you want to take their SNAP and Medicaid benefits away or reduce their benefits. If anything, every veteran in America deserves an increase. Many live in states that didn't expand Medicaid, which means their safety net was already thinner. So who's going to feel this the most? The bill hits both groups, but in different ways. Rural, conservative areas, mostly Republican voters, depend heavily on Medicaid to keep rural hospitals open. Why are you voting against your own self-interest? Have higher rates of disability, chronic illness, and poverty. Have more SNAP reliance because of fewer job opportunities. These communities will feel the loss of Medicaid funding almost immediately. Urban liberal areas, mostly Democratic voters, benefit from Medicaid expansion, which will now be cut back, of course. Have large immigrant and minority populations who rely on SNAP. Face higher housing costs and rely on layered assistance. These families will be hurt by funding reductions and stricter requirements. What else you gonna require out of veterans and disabled adults? What are you requiring for them to do? Besides a whole lot of more bureaucracy, red tape, and complications. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation and Census Bureau, more than 60% of all Medicaid enrollees live in Republican-led states. Rural hospitals are overwhelmingly in red counties. SNAP enrollment is high in both blue and red counties. So in raw numbers, more low-income Republicans will likely feel the impact. So in raw numbers, more low-income Republicans will likely feel the impact. Why are you voting against your own best self-interest? Republicans, low-income Republicans, why are you voting? You're low-income and you voted for an orange man who's taking away the thing that you need the most. This bill is going to cut your hospitals and clinics. Your state already offers less supplemental aid to cushion the blow, so this is just going to make it worse. The bottom line is, if you're low income, whether you vote Democrat or Republican, you will feel the pain. Less food assistance, more red tape, fewer clinics and hospitals, higher out-of-pocket costs. But rural conservative regions, the places where folks already have fragile health systems, will feel the crisis fastest and hardest. So you voted Republican. You're a conservative, live in conservative region, and you will feel the crisis the fastest and the hardest. Why are you voting against your own self-interest? Let me give you some truth to hold on to. Hunger and illness don't check party registration before they knock on your door. This bill is a stark reminder poverty is a nonpartisan problem, but policy is political. Let me lay this out real carefully with evidence and humanity. Let's look past all these stereotypes, these slogans, and let's look into some real reality. Who relies mostly on the programs being cut? Let's first talk about Medicaid and SNAP, the two biggest targets in this bill. Medicaid, 1 in 5 Americans are enrolled in Medicaid. 1 out of 5. Black adults are enrolled at higher rates than white adults because of long-standing wage gaps. Now, why is there a long-standing wage gap? Because of the oppression of the oppressor, who seems to be trying to rise again in the White House. Less employer-sponsored insurance, higher rates of chronic illnesses. Women of every race also rely more heavily on Medicaid because they live longer. Women live longer. Women are more likely to be single parents. Women are more likely to provide unpaid caregiving and often work part-time. SNAP. Over 40% of Black children in America rely on SNAP at some point during childhood. Black women disproportionately head households using SNAP. White families are numerically the largest group using SNAP overall, but Black families are more likely proportionately to need it. Economic position and gender across all races, women are more likely to be low income due to wage discrimination, caregiving burdens, and being a single parent. Among Black Americans, Black women have the highest rates of poverty, especially single mothers. Among white Americans, single mothers also have high poverty rates, but they more often live in regions with some additional state supports. While Black women will be hit the hardest, if you blend all this data, here's what emerges. Black women are overrepresented among Medicaid recipients, SNAP recipients, low wage essential workers without benefits. They are more likely to be single heads of household. So when benefits are cut, there is no second income cushion. They face compounded barriers, racism in healthcare, gender pay gaps, fewer assets to fall back on. This doesn't mean white women or Black men won't also be harmed. They absolutely will. But the combination of race based economic disparities, gender based economic disparities, caregiving responsibilities means Black women sit at the bullseye of this policy impact. What about the Black men? Black men also have higher poverty and unemployment rates than white men. Many are uninsured and rely on Medicaid, especially in the South. They also face health disparities that make loss of coverage especially dangerous. But statistically, Black men are less likely to be primary caregivers for children, which can sometimes slightly reduce SNAP dependency. What about white women? Many live in rural areas with high Medicaid dependence. Many are also single mothers on SNAP. They will feel severe impacts, particularly where rural hospitals close. What about white men? This group on average has higher wages, higher rates of private insurance, and higher household wealth. That doesn't mean no impact. Low income white men will feel it too, but they have fewer compounding vulnerabilities on average. The bottom line is this: if you forced me to rank which group will be hurt the most severely based on the overlap of race, gender, income, and caregiving, it's my beautiful Black queens, my beautiful Black sisters, my Black women, and then white women, and then the Black men, and then the white men. This is not because Black women are weaker, it is because they have carried the heaviest economic burden for generations. When safety nets shrink, the folks who were already holding it all together with grit and prayer are the first to feel the floor give way. Now, let me tell you some things the Orange Man said before he became president, which contradicts what's going on now. As far as protecting Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, this is what he said. I'm not going to cut Social Security like every other Republican, and I'm not going to cut Medicare or Medicaid. He said this at a campaign rally in New Hampshire in 2015. The reality, this bill slashes Medicaid funding by hundreds of billions over the next decade. It reduces coverage and imposes work requirements that will cause millions to lose benefits. While Social Security checks aren't cut, Medicaid supports will shrink. Helping working families and the poor. This is what it said. We are going to take care of everybody, There will be no cuts to benefits. Everyone will be protected. He said this on CBS 60 Minutes interview, September 2015. Now, the reality SNAP funding is being reduced by nearly 36% over 10 years. Work requirements will disqualify many low income families. Rural hospitals dependent on Medicaid are expected to close, creating healthcare deserts. No one will lose coverage. That's what the orange man said. We're going to have insurance for everybody. There was a philosophy in some circles that if you can't pay for it, you don't get it. That's not going to happen with us. He said this during a Washington Post interview January 2017. This bill would kick millions off Medicaid, especially in states like Georgia. If you can't meet paperwork or work rules, you will lose coverage. Okay, he said, I'm fighting for the forgotten Americans. That's what the orange man said. Everyday Americans, the forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. He said it during his victory speech rally in November 2016. Now, here's the truth. The largest benefits of this bill go to corporations, high earners, people with large estates. Meanwhile, the working poor face more hurdles, less support, and fewer protection. Government will be more efficient, not cruel. That's what the orange man said. We will get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, not hurt people who need help. He said this at his campaign stump speech, multiple appearances through 2015 and 2016. The reality, by design, the bill achieves savings mainly by shrinking eligibility and cutting benefits, not by rooting out fraud. Experts estimate that most of the Medicaid and SNAP savings come from eligible people losing coverage because of red tape and complexity. Why this matters. These contradictions show how political messaging can overshadow policy reality. Many low income voters of all races heard these promises and believed their benefits were safe, Medicaid was off limits, food assistance would remain strong. Now, why anybody would believe anything that a felon tells them without fact checking, I don't know. And you saw from his first term how incapable he was of telling the truth. They even came up with the word called alternative facts. Alternative facts still means a lie. Before this orange man was reelected, he said Medicaid would not be cut. Everybody would keep coverage and working families would be protected. After he was reelected, cuts Medicaid deeply, strips food assistance, and puts the burden on the poorest. He puts the burden on the poorest. Social Security and Medicaid are different buckets. Social Security, this is funded by payroll taxes. Yes, it is. Now give me my money. I pay for Social Security. You do have a legal entitlement to those benefits once you qualify. No, I want my money and I want it now. Politicians can change rules about how much you get when you get it or how cost of living increases are calculated. But they can't just take it away entirely without changing the law. I feel a water break coming on. It's good for you. Get your some. Medicaid and SNAP. These are means-tested safety net programs not funded by your FICA payroll taxes. They are funded by a combination of federal and state tax dollars and are considered entitlements only if you meet income and eligibility rules. Congress can change those rules. This is why you see lawmakers targeting Medicaid and SNAP first. They have more freedom to cut or restrict them. We put our money in, but it's not a personal account. It feels like Social Security should be like a savings account in your name with your money sitting there waiting for you. But it doesn't work that way. When you pay Social Security taxes, your money immediately pays for current retirees, survivors, and disabled beneficiaries. This is called a pay as you go system. In exchange, you earn credits toward your own benefits. future benefits. So your payroll retirement ages of living adjustments, they can't just zero it out overnight, but they do have the legal authority to modify the power of Congress. Under the U.S. Constitution, Congress controls taxing and spending. Programs like Medicaid, SNAP, and Social Security are created by federal law. But Congress creates, Congress can change if they pass a new law. This is why every election matters so much. Every Congress has the power to cut funding, add requirements, change eligibility, and restructure benefits. Vote, people. Please vote. Why it feels so wrong. You're not imagining this. You worked, paid into the system, and trusted that these benefits would be there. When politicians decide to cut or limit benefits, it feels like theft. That's because it is theft. Because it breaks the social contract you were promised. Work hard, pay in, and you'll be cared for when you're old, sick, or down on your luck. You're right to feel angry. That feeling is valid. Why they keep doing it? Here's the hard truth. Big corporate donors and wealthy individuals often pressure lawmakers to lower taxes. The easiest place to cut spending is social programs. Poor and working class people have less lobbying power to stop them. Wow. Social Security, you have a legal right to benefits you earn, but Congress can still adjust the rules. Medicaid, SNAP, you do not have the same individual legal claim. These are entitlements only if you qualify each year under whatever rules Congress sets. Why it feels unjust? Because you trusted the system and the rules keep shifting out from under you. Politicians call it the big, beautiful bill. I call it what it really is, a bill wrapped in pretty promises and hiding consequences that will break families, shutter hospitals, and starve communities. In this video, we unpack who wins, who loses, and why you must pay attention. From Medicaid cuts to SNAP restrictions, this legislation will hit Black women, low-income parents, seniors, and rural America the hardest. Don't be fooled by the wrapping. Watch, share, and prepare. Even when they dress injustice in beautiful words, I see the truth clearly. I honor my worth. I protect my family, and I will rise above every consequence they try to lay at my door. No bill, no policy, no politician will steal my power or my purpose. In favor, turn in the Bible with me, please, to Matthew 23 and 27. There within you will find these words. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites. You are like widow-washed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of the bones of dead and everything unclean. Sound like somebody you know? Something that looks beautiful, polished, and righteous, but inside holds decay, harm, and hidden consequences. The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness by Michelle Alexander is a book recommendation that I'm making. This book is a masterful exploration of policies dressed up in noble language, public safety, tough on crime that were actually designed to devastate Black communities. This bill exposes beautiful rhetoric concealing ugly consequences. The Great Debaters, watch that movie. This film tells the story of eloquent arguments and polished ideas, justice, democracy, equality, presented beautifully by institutions that in reality upheld brutal injustice against Black communities. Like a beautiful bill wrapped in ugly consequences, The Great Debater shows how language can be used to cover harm and how truth tellers must rise up to expose it. Listen to What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, because that's what I'm trying to find out. Marvin Gaye, can you come back and tell us what's going on? This timeless anthem is all about beautiful melodies carrying the weight of ugly truths, political hypocrisy, poverty, war, and systematic injustice hidden behind smooth rhetoric. The lyric that speaks directly to my message is, Father, Father, we don't need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. It's the sound of truth unmasking pretty lies. You know, Dr. Cornel West is a philosopher, activist, and author. Dr. Cornel West. Justice is what love looks like in public, just like tenderness is what love feels like in private. This quote exposes the lie of a beautiful bill that isn't rooted in justice. If there is no justice in the consequences, no real love under the wrapping, then all the pretty language is just decoration on top of harm. A beautiful bill wrapped in ugly consequences. Let's say this prayer. Holy Creator, source of all wisdom and justice, we come to you with open hearts and weary spirits. We see the polished words, the promises wrapped in bright ribbons, and we feel the burden that hides beneath their beauty. Lord, give us discernment to see through deception, courage to name what is unjust, and strength to stand with those most wounded by these choices. Cover every family whose table will grow emptier, every elder whose care will be stripped away, every child who will wonder why their hunger is ignored. Remind us that no law can erase our dignity, no policy can steal our purpose, and no consequence is greater than your love for your people. Empower us to speak truth to power, to organize, to resist, to protect each other with fierce compassion. May our voices rise louder than any false promise, and may your justice flow like a mighty river, unwrapping every lie that divides. Amen. A beautiful bill wrapped in ugly consequences. Okay, my beautiful black queens, have you ever met somebody who looked fine as wine in their Sunday suit, only to find out later they were a whole hot mess in disguise? Well, let me tell you, this bill right here is exactly that. A beautiful bill wrapped in ugly consequences. Three things I want you to know. It looks pretty, but it's petty. They call it the big beautiful bill promising prosperity and freedom, but 26 million Americans, yes, 26 million, could lose Medicaid or SNAP by 2028, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. That's not prosperity. That's a polished eviction notice in your mailbox. It's not about lazy people. You will hear them say, well, folks just need to work harder. Let's check that lie with the receipt. According to the USDA, over 58% of SNAP recipients are already working, some in 2 or 3 jobs. Ain't nobody lazy. The system is stingy. Your worth ain't measured by their budget cuts. Even if they slash, trim, and gut these programs, you are still worthy of health care, food security, and dignity. Never let a politician with a 6-figure salary tell you you are asking for too much. Never let a politician with a 6-figure salary tell you you are asking for too much. I want you to walk away with this. You are not crazy for feeling suspicious. You are not wrong for demanding answers. You are not alone in this fight. Some folks will say, but we have to cut spending. America is in debt. Why is America in debt? Then y'all just have a $200,000 billion parade for a supposedly orange king somewhere. Debt is real, but if we can find billions for tax breaks on yachts and second homes, we can find billions to feed children and keep rural clinics open. Congressional Budget Office 2025. Work requirements motivate people. Let's get specific. When Arkansas tried work requirements in 2018, over 18,000 people lost Medicaid, not because they weren't working, but because the paperwork was so confusing. Health Affairs 2019. Paperwork don't feed anybody. Let me ask you a question. How will this bill affect you or someone you love? What would real economic justice look like to you? Are we willing to challenge even our own assumptions about who deserves help? If you think I'm exaggerating, pull up the numbers and bring them to the table. Yeah, put them in the comments. If you think work requirements work, show me long-term outcomes that prove folks get better jobs and stay healthier. I'm here for the receipts. I'm waiting on them. I will never ask you to take my word alone. Research my research. Before I let you go, let's laugh so we don't cry. This bitter's like that dude who shows up with a bouquet of roses and no job. Smells good, but baby, it won't pay the light bill. Remember my question. Have you ever met something that looked fine but was rotten underneath? But now you know. A beautiful bill wrapped in ugly consequences is exactly that. I want you to remember to stay alert, stay informed, and stay bold, because our survival ain't negotiable and our brilliance can't be budget cut. Now go out there, share this with your sisters, and tell them no matter how pretty the wrapping, we see the truth. Stay beautiful, stay aware, stay unstoppable. If you hear nothing else today, hear this. Don't be fooled by pretty words and shiny speeches. This bill is a beautiful wrapping on an ugly burden. Your task is to stay informed, stay connected, and stay ready. Share this message with somebody you love. Call your representatives and tell them we see through the wrapping. We will not be silent while our communities pay the price. Click subscribe so we can keep lifting each other up with truth. Drop a comment below. Tell me how this bill will impact you. And if you can, stand with organizations fighting to protect our families. Because when we speak together, organize together, and pray together, no consequence, no matter how ugly, can break our collective power. Let's get to work. Thank you so much for watching the Unorganized Chaos Network. I am the advantage of entertainment. This is a whosoever will zone, a safe zone, a judgment-free zone. All are welcome here. I don't care if you're gay, straight, cripple, or crazy. Please like, please share, please subscribe, please turn on that notification button. Thank you so much for subscribing. Please share it with at least 4 other people. You're more than likely to become like the 4 people you hang around the most. Thank you so much for subscribing. If our hearts and minds are clear, go and govern yourselves accordingly.
Shining like Sunday shoes. But when you peeled back the bow,
They gave us papers wrapped in satin, said the good times here to stay. But I opened up that package and it stole my breath away. No love in the fine print, no mercy in the lines, just another deal for the rich man, and the rest get left behind.
They dressed it up. They dressed it up, but it was hollow.
Said it was, gave us a promise, but tomorrow
A beautiful betrayal.
gold on the outside, pain in the seams.
A beautiful betrayal.
Living in the cracks of their American dream.
A beautiful betrayal.
You can't buy my soul with your silver strings. Yo. They told us freedom was a contract, but the ink dried up in the heat. They told us justice was a handshake, but the grip was bitter and cheap. Now the rent due, the fridge empty, mama working doubles every week, while the man in the suit counting dollars in his sleep. Who gon' feed the babies? Not your beautiful betrayal. Who gon' save our elders? Not your beautiful betrayal. Who gon' fight us? Wrapped up so neat, but it's tearing at the seams. A beautiful betrayal. It's a curse in a ribbon, a theft in a dream. A beautiful betrayal. You can't buy my soul with your silver strings. Pretty words can't hold me. Pretty lies can't break me. This is the last betrayal I'll ever believe.